Henry McClure Live. When it comes to dealing with Jetto and Go Topeka, the city and the county, and especially when it comes to the organization Go Topeka, I've got a long track record with these people. And this goes back to Doug Kinzinger when they put out the call for shovel ready land. And at the bottom of this post, I'm going to put forth a commercial that we put together at what was called Yes Topeka. And Yes Topeka went out and uh, gained support to renew the then quarter-cent sales tax that was about ready to expire when they did the law enforcement center. So I went out and I went to, like, the Kiwanis, the Optimus, Rotary, and I made speeches because, I'm a salesman. That was my job. And I believed in it back then because what they were saying is we need to have shovel ready land. We need to have money for infrastructure. And we also need to have money for quality of life. And based on that, we went out and got the sales tax renewed at a quarter-cent. And later on, we raised that up and we have an interlocal agreement. And the interlocal agreement is the agreement, it's like a treaty between the county government, and all three of those commissioners are on that, and a treaty with the city government. The mayor, the deputy mayor, and two appointed or elected officials amongst the council make up a 7-member Jetto board. So Doug Kinzinger, uh, they put out the call for shovel-ready land, and at the time I had 75 acres listed with Dana Kay. And then I went out and got 100 acres with the Wilsies and some acreage with Dave Herman. And at the time, back then, I was trying to get 49th Street paved, so the public-private partnership could have equal footing. And see, if you don't know Dana K. Anderson, you don't know this dude knows everybody. And I'm lucky enough just to know him. So what if I'm just riding on his coattails? He got me my job at the Macerich Company. He's been a dear friend to me and maybe one of the most tolerant people I know. He's been a good client as a broker. We've made deals together in partnership, and they're in a better guy day to day than dealing with Dana Kay, right? So as part of this process, we had to give we had to give contracts that showed that we had the right to negotiate, and it was Go Topeka's way of seeing what's under the fingernails of your deal. Because so we could redact some stuff, but what they wanted to do, they're laying in the weeds and they're going to wait out the contracts. They completely obstructed the road 49th Street. And there are, ask Joe Ledbetter about a fella named Mel Chapman. And, um, and Joe Ledbetter back in the time was a great advocate of trying to get 49th Street paved, trying to get the bridge repaired. Because if we had from Topeka Boulevard to the interstate paved, you've got shovel ready land. I got the utilities there and I got a hard surface. I'm on an equal playing field with the government. And I'm telling you, sure enough, you can ask, there's people that know that made the deal. Um, so with this agreement with the Wilsies, I had Dick May in the deal because he had it listed. And so Dick would have earned a commission. And if I was able to make a deal as a developer, well, then I got paid a separate deal. The development agreement was here, the commission was here, everybody wins. We worked together. Dick was a great guy, and the Wilsies were nice people. Hell, I think Wilsey invented the egg breaking machine. Had a farm out in Maple Hill. Ah, beautiful farm. But I'm telling you, a week, 10 days after my development agreement expired, Frito Lay bought the land. And I wasn't there, and I can't quote this exactly, but it was almost like, but Henry McClure's out of this deal, right? That was the gist of it. Time marches on, man. Um, and Dana Kay and I contributed money to do a break and access study because we believed at 49th Street, if you had an interchange there, it would give better access. It would keep the trucks off of as many trucks as we could off of the local network and keep them out on the highways. Well, anyway, my deal expired with Dave Herman on down the line, and my deal with Dana actually would have gone in perpetuity because of my relationship with Dana Kay. And eventually, Go Topeka uh, bought the land from me. It's like 18 years ago. And if you go out there today, there's a broker's sign who doesn't have it listed from Kansas City, who's got more warehouse down by uh, the big what is the intermodal. They'll never they'll never fill up that vacancy and come to Topeka. So um, here I've got Go Topeka, and that guy's also the head of the Chamber of Commerce, basically working against me and my industry. They're mucking up the deal. They ate they froze out all the real estate people locally, and it's not just people. You got to look at each one of us as like individual businesses because everybody, you know, we kill, we eat what we kill, right? So hey, if we got to have some marketing help or this and that done, we've got to pay for that ourselves and get paid back through the commissions. And the people that are in the bigger brokerage houses, they've got to pay fees to have a desk and an office. So we're not just, um, we are actually the best resource that could be for Topeka, and we need to be working for Topeka, and we need to get a listing on all the ground that Go Topeka has title to. And here's the real unfair thing that creates the resentments with me is not only can they give away the land or control the land, but everybody goes through them and they also control the money. So who's ever going to call Ed Eller? You're going to call the people that got the free land and the money. You know, nobody's going to call Doug Bassett. Nobody's going to call Mike Morris. And trust me, I'd rather see a KS commercial sign on my land that I sold them 18 years ago. I'd rather see local people, but we're trying to work through that right now. We're trying. Um, we're we're seeing through the issues. So that kind of has been the um, the frustration that goes back for so long. So this has been like for me a problem since the year 2000. You know, and here's where the issue is: there's an inherent conflict of interest with Go Topeka even being in the chamber's office because there should be a Chinese wall. And trust me, it's all sophistry when you say they give them a code name and all that stuff. I've been around that. When I was working in Tampa, it always leaked out who it was. They would leak it out because then my client back then was John Hancock. They'd leak it out because they knew we had a bunch of money and we could probably get land the deal. We might work harder. It was funny when we did the General Motors call center at 152,000 feet. We had to pay GMAC's real estate department a full commission, and we earned a full commission. It was it was crazy. And also too, I think we had to pay a full commission to another broker who was representing GMAC. And we might have split that. But anyway, so this is some there's something that this kind of festers inside you. And so one thing about sobriety, you know, there's another thing called emotional sobriety. So sometimes, even after you've recovered and you're clean and sober and you're marching down the road, maybe your emotional sobriety takes time to catch up. And sometimes you become human and show frustration. But I've been accused of threatening somebody at Go Topeka, and that's just not true. Of course, it's threatening when you want to defund their whole operation because they've been working against you from day one. And then you say something that maybe is threatening to the funding because I want to cut Go Topeka off at the knees. Zero. You take the head of Go Topeka and we put them in, and they can work for the city of Topeka. And we give them office space, and maybe they can take one assistant. But Go Topeka has got a bloated budget, and we shouldn't be spending $1.9 million for economic development. Think about, so you just move two salaries over to the city. Nobody wants to work for the city. Hey, if I want a job in finance, that's where all the action is. You know, single guy like me. Hey, finance is where it's at. They get the ladies, and that's a whole nother story. But and that's funny. So if you know me, if you really know me, and you've known the changes that I've made since May 2nd, 2015, there's a difference between frustration, alienation, having somebody really, the jackbooted thugs, they got their boot on my neck. And yeah, that's frustrating. And that takes away my livelihood. And they're sucking off the government money for economic development. We don't need a diversity and equity and an inclusion person paid through for economic development. We've got three nice people in the city that do that. So the economic development person that now is just housed in the city can talk to the three people if they need an education on how to be nice to people. If they need, hey, I'm telling you, I got a case about being included. I'm serious. More so, if the Chamber of Commerce feels so strongly about Go Topeka, let them fund it. There are a lot of people that make huge donations to the Chamber of Commerce. But here's the inherent conflict of interest that I'm talking about. The Chamber wants to represent their base. Let's just look at them like a political party. And so the Chamber Party and the guy running the chamber wants to protect his job is to protect his constituents. And if a guy over here wants to bring in a deal that one of his constituents thinks that's not a good deal, well, we never see that deal. And if you don't think that goes on, you're smoking weed. You're probably smoking weed anyway because you're letting this stuff go on anyway. That's one thing I don't miss is weed. But, let me focus again. So, growing up in the mall business with a mall mentality, if from 10,000 feet we look at Shawnee County like a mall, well, Mace Siegel, who became one of the third largest mall owners in the country, the Mace Rich Company, sometimes we'd say, that's a really bad idea. And we don't think we should do it. And I'm going to actually write you a letter that you shouldn't do it. And maybe the really bad ideas don't get help for infrastructure, but sometimes the really bad ideas are backed by a lot of money. And who are we to play God? But back in the day, we were taught to make sure that the deals that we did would enhance the existing tenants that we had because we're getting a nick on the sales. We're getting what was called percentage rent. Now that evaporated as time marched on, and so has the retail business. But that's what we've got to do. We've got to quit thinking like the corporate welfare that we gave out there, but you got to get back to the essence of what it was about. It was about growing the population and increasing the tax base. And we didn't do that. So, okay, let's have a better attitude about it. Let's do something different. Let's change. Let's quit trying to do the same thing. Oh, wait a minute. You know what? We ought to put some money in the water department. We've neglected that for so long. Let's do that. And I want you to, every time you see a water problem or hear about a water problem, just remember this message. Man, I actually need to take this call. Put you on hold.